and start recording. All right. Well, good morning. Today is Monday, February 10th, maybe. Not sure, but it is Monday. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is an article that I came across, which kind of talks about veteran suicide and guns. So I read the article, and I just wanted to touch base on some things or bring out a different perspective, one that maybe they've overlooked or haven't thought about or just plain out want to ignore. In any case, it has to do with this article. It's called "Those Who Serve, Addressing Firearms Suicide Among Military Veterans." So it has an introduction, and it goes through a bunch of findings and stuff. But what I wanted to do first was give my perspective, and then I want to dive into this article and kind of give them a different perspective on what they should be looking at and my own opinion. So first, what I want to do is, this was created in 1942, and the author of this is Major General William H. Rupertus, United States Marine Corps, retired. He wrote The Rifleman's Creed. I want to read it to you, and then I want to take it apart, and then we're going to bounce this off of this guy's article. So here it goes. This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. My rifle is my best friend. It is my life. I must master it as I master my life. My rifle without me is useless. Without my rifle, I am useless. I must fire my rifle true. I must shoot straighter than my enemy who is trying to kill me. I must shoot him before he shoots me. I will. My rifle and myself know that what counts in this war is not the rounds we fire, the noise of our burst, nor the smoke we make. We know that it is the hits that count. We will hit. My rifle is human, even as I, because it is my life. Thus, I will learn it as a brother. I will learn its weakness, its strength, its parts, its accessories, its sights, its barrels. I will ever guard it against the ravages of weather and damage, as I will ever guard my legs, my arms, my eyes, and my heart against damage. I will keep my rifle clean and ready. We will become part of each other. We will. Before God, I swear this creed. My rifle and myself are the defenders of my country. We are the masters of our enemy. We are the saviors of my life. So be it until victory is America's, and there is no enemy but peace. And that was written in 1942. I want to read the top caption. Captain Robert P. White, Public Relations Officer of the base in California, suggested that Rupertus write an editorial to the effect, but the general thought that the editorial would sound like a sermon. Instead, Rupertus felt that the rifle creed should be something so deep, a conviction so great, a faith so lasting, that no one should have to be preached to about it. So now, let me tear that apart a little bit. That was written in 1942. The Marine Corps, up until recently, you had to memorize this. All recruits had to memorize this Rifleman's Creed upon graduation. So it was drilled into them. They had to know this to graduate out of boot camp. So it used to be like in the front pages of the Marine Corps manual for all recruits. Now, they've moved it to the back pages, but it's still there. But I want to take a look at this a little closer. So there are 6 affirmations of I will. There are 3 affirmations of we will, referring to my rifle and me. And there is one affirmation, or two affirmations of I must. Okay, so what they need to start doing is looking at the beginning. Okay, they're trying to fix the problem, the result of the problem, but they're not looking at where it got broke. So this is ingrained in us. I want to point out something. The last part of this, the very last sentence, so be it until victory is America's and there is no enemy but peace. Some of us come home from war. I am not one of those. I did not serve in any wartime era. I am a peacetime veteran. However, having said that, veterans that come home from war, although the war is still over and the enemy may or may not have been completely defeated, for some the war still rages on in their heads, form of PTSD. The enemy is still alive. So when you talk about veterans and suicide, you need to understand that the enemy in some is still alive in their mind. They live it daily. They live it nightly in their dreams, their nightmares, their flashbacks. So when you want to take away a serviceman's weapon, especially Marines, when it's given life, it breathes. It's a human. That's what this Rifleman's Creed is telling us. This is ingrained in us, sort of like a cult-like nature. Okay? You read this every day. You memorize it. You memorize it. It's a part of you. You know, and then for those that go to war, they follow this. This is my rifle, but it's part of me. It breathes. I'm going to take care of it like my brother. All right? My rifle is human, even as I, because it is my life. Thus, I will learn it as a brother. Okay? Now, General Rupertus did not write this thing back in 1942 to become the mantra or brainwashed aspect of what the rifle should do. But I want to bring it out because that's what it's become. That's what boot camp has made it through all these decades since 1942 until recently, when they don't teach it as a memorized aspect of graduation. It's now just sitting in the back pages. It shouldn't be there at all. Okay? The rifle is not human. But I want to bring out something else that's in this Rifleman's Creed. Before God, I swear this creed. So we're swearing to God that my rifle and myself are the defenders of my country. We are the masters of our enemy. Now this is the key part here. We are the saviors of my life. Now, for all Christians out there, this shouldn't sit well with you. You're swearing to God that you and your rifle are your saviors, not Jesus Christ, the third part of the Trinity, or second part, however you want to look at it. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Okay, so there's a problem there. There's a conflict of interest with spiritual people. Okay, so be it until victory is America's and there is no enemy but peace. So when they come home, there's a couple things going on here. All true believers were pretty much forced to turn their back on Jesus Christ as their Savior and make it themselves and their weapon. I get the point of what General Rupertus was originally saying, but that's not how it transpired in boot camp. So when these veterans come home and they're still reliving the war, the enemy is not dead yet. If they have a weapon, granted, they may use it because their weapon is the only thing, it's their savior. Them and their weapon is their savior. So they're going to fight the enemy, even the enemy in their head. That's where you need to start. You don't need to start at the very end of this. Hey, let's just take the weapons away. You're not fixing the problem. You're not even fixing the end result of the problem. You're just creating another avenue. Having said that, I want to read another snippet for you. The percentage of Americans who own guns. The Small Arms Survey stated that the U.S. civilians alone account for 393 million. That's about 46% of the worldwide total of civilian-held firearms. That amounts to 120.5 firearms for every 100 citizens in America. So, you want to take one weapon from a veteran who may or may not be suicidal. What are you going to do? What are you gaining by taking that pistol or that rifle? What do you gain? When there's 120, there's more weapons per 100 people than there are people. Seriously. So, having said all of that, now I want to dig into this guy's article. One, I want to point out that he is not a veteran, has never served, and has no understanding of what it is to be a veteran. And definitely doesn't have an understanding of what it is to be a veteran with PTSD. Okay. So he goes through his introduction, which I'm not going to read. Basically, well, I'll read a little. I'll paraphrase. So he's speaking about three veterans that made the news recently from shooting themselves in or on VA property, hospitals. Okay, so they make good headlines. Still doesn't solve the problem. Still doesn't get any closer to the problem. So what their findings are, on average, 42 veterans die by firearm suicide every year. It's about 11 deaths a day. Of the 22, half of them, 50%, are by firearms. But if you go back to this here, what's the one thing that can take care of the enemy and that you're a professional at? It is your weapon. I get it. Why would I use a lesser means to do what I was trained to do with a weapon? If I want to kill the enemy and the enemy resides in my head, that's where the doctors need to start. If you help relieve the enemy in the head, PTSD, then the gun is just a gun. It's just a pistol. It's just a rifle. It's a piece of hardware. It is not a living, breathing human. So first and foremost, they need to figure out how to deprogram. Okay? Deprogram veterans that this rifle or pistol is not a living, breathing thing. It's a tool that you used for your job, which is the battlefield. Okay? I don't come home and suck on a wrench because I think it's going to fix my throat or something. I shouldn't have to worry about, guns being a living, breathing thing. A wrench isn't. It's a piece of hardware. It's a piece of metal, as is the gun, as are the bullets. So anyway, moving on. I'm just going to pick out his headings and go with it. So, firearm suicides make up 2/3 of all gun deaths. Okay? This guy wrote the article, not me. Firearm suicides make up 2/3 of all gun deaths. I don't understand that. But it is there so that you can see exactly what he wrote. And this is a doctor with a PhD. I didn't know that a gun wasn't a firearm, so in itself that was kind of a corny heading. Anyhow, veterans are more likely to own guns than non-veterans and are more likely to die by firearm suicide. Okay. We were children when we joined the service. Couple of pieces here. We went from high school, church on Sunday, or just hanging out with our friends. Some of us probably never even got a job yet. We went right from high school to the service to serve our country. And during different campaigns when, 9/11, stuff like that, where the big rush was, I want to defend my country, kids did just come right out of high school straight into the service. So children graduate soldiers. So now they come out. There aren't any programs. Okay, one, that child that joined the service, I don't care what branch it is, that child has never experienced adulthood outside the service. So for the Army and Marines, mostly, I would say, that's my opinion, they seen more battle, per se, hand-to-hand, face-to-face combat. Navy, on a ship firing, flying, SEALs. Air Force, same thing, but they do also, have some types of hand-to-hand. The point is, every veteran that joined from school, high school, the only adult thing they know how to do is fight, is use a weapon, is defend this country. That's another part that's broken. One, there's no deprogramming. Your EAS comes, or end of active service, you're done, you're out. Sure, you transition back stateside, you transition back to your, hotel or administrative battery, and then you're done. Month or two. There's not a whole lot of training. You're in for 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, doesn't matter. However long you're in, a month or two is not going to deprogram or give you the tools that you need to be successful in the civilian world. Brings up another problem. Okay. The families of the veteran, while they were in service, the families had to formulate their own life and lifestyle while their loved one is overseas fighting a war, defending this country. There's nothing in place. The VA won't pay. The government won't pay anything to integrate the family. None at all. So the veteran comes home, he's left to his own devices. Yeah, he gets a month or two of, hey, we'll help you. Here's job coaching, help you with some resume material. What's on your resume material? I can shoot a weapon. I can take orders. I can be a part of a team. And of course, if your MOS is something, your military occupation specialist, specialty, if it's something that can be used out here in the civilian world, you can put that in there. You can't put in there that you're an expert shot with a firearm, not unless you're going to join the police force, the FBI, state troopers, something like that. But you can't go into a business and say, hey, I could shoot really well. What other skills you got? You don't have any. You don't even have any life experience in the civilian world, period. So they need to work on that. And then the families come, they have their life going. Now you plop in their loved one, who's now a veteran, home 24/7. Home, he's lost, or she, don't know what to do next. The VA doesn't really reach out and say, hey, come on in, we're going to help you. The government really doesn't care, in my opinion. You are a number going in, and you're a number going out. The friends you made in there know your last name, and your first name for your closer friends. But that's it. You are a tool that the government used to defend this country. Lots of broken pieces that nobody is attacking to try and fix. So moving on with this story that this guy wrote. Firearms are increasingly used in suicides among female veterans. Okay. Now, let's put that into some perspective. Years ago, female soldiers or females in the military did not fight on the front line. Did not fight, period. Now they're fighting. So your point is what? The point is that they have leveled the playing field. Men and women in the military are equals. That's another day for a different topic, because even though on paper they're equal, women are still so far behind the equality scales in the military. I have a lot of information on that I'll do in another live stream. Today I'm just picking on this guy's article because it's just redundant. People writing stuff to write stuff to get their name out there, to be something, to claim to address a problem that nobody's addressing. The West has the highest rate of veteran firearms suicides of any region. Now they're talking about in our country, the USA. Okay, so pretty much the Midwest is where most of the suicides are. Well, the Midwest is a lot more hunting, a lot more animals, a lot more open land, a lot more farmers, a lot more access to weapons. I lived in New Jersey. Weren't allowed to have a rifle there. You could use a shotgun when you're hunting. You couldn't use a rifle. If you're out in the West, you probably wouldn't use a shotgun. You'd use a rifle because there's a lot more range to fire the weapon. So, he comes across with some recommendations. Nationwide, 53,230 military veterans died by gun suicide in a period between 2005 and 2017. It's more than 13 times the number of service members who were killed in action during the United States engagements in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria combined. That was a total of 4,076. So, again, that's just actual confirmed suicides. That doesn't account for suicide by cop. It doesn't count for, running your car into a bridge, because it doesn't. Not really. There's no note. There's no purposeful meaning to let somebody know that, hey, I'm going to kill myself today by running my car head on into a bridge. All right, so they're pretty much looking at those suicides that are somebody left a note, or somebody shot themselves, even ODs and stuff like that. A lot of those don't get reported as suicides either. Accidental overdoses or opportunity, death by misadventure. Those don't get counted into the suicide rate. So the numbers are a lot higher than what they're actually presenting to us. We'll move on here. We need to identify veterans in crisis and temporarily remove access to their firearms. Okay, which that brings me all the way back to the Rifleman's Creed. So we want to identify a veteran that's in crisis, and this guy says he wants to take your weapon away. But the Rifleman Creed says the weapon is your brother, it's human, it's living and breathing. So that's like ripping your significant other out of your arms and saying, can't have it no more because you're in crisis. So if you're having a problem, you're sick, and let's just say you have the flu, or maybe even this coronavirus that's going around now that China's not reporting properly. Let's say you have that. So what this guy is suggesting is take your loved ones and get rid of them. Do it alone. Stay there separately. Isolate yourself. So he's not even thinking what he's writing here. Okay? You don't take a person's weapon away. Now, I would suggest that if you want to take somebody's weapon away, let it be voluntary. But if you're going to do that, replace it with something else living and breathing, like a service animal that's trained to see the problems in the veterans, individually trained. That's a unique idea that this guy didn't even think of, nor has anybody else. I think every veteran out of the service should have the option to have a service animal upon arriving home. The service animal is picked, and then they can go ahead and train the animal for the individual specific needs. That's what I think should happen. My phone is over there buzzing. I turned the volume off, but I forgot to turn the buzzer off, so please forgive that. So anyway, my point is, they want to take, but they don't want to give anything. They don't even give a solution that actually resolves the problem. The VA spent just about $50,000-$60,000 out of $6.2 million allotted for veteran suicide prevention. 57,000, I believe, was the number. I could be wrong, but they didn't even break the $80,000 mark with $6.2 million at their disposal. Okay, there's agencies, there's individual organizations out there. One such organization, Warrior Healing Center, right here where I'm sitting. Okay, here it's real veterans attacking a real problem. It is a war. We are helping people daily. That's where the funds should go. The VA can't handle the overload. They can't even handle what they got coming at them right now. They put in place the choice program, which a third of the veterans went outside to choice programs. And then the guy in the office that pretends to be a president, he put in place the Mission Act. Another third of the veterans left the VA to get outside treatment. Good and bad points. The outside treatment, they don't really understand veterans. Bad point. So they don't really understand how to treat the issue. PTSD is pretty much PTSD. Any traumatic event can cause PTSD, whether it's civilian or military. But there's a culture in the military that makes it just a little bit different. That they need to understand that. They need to look at what's happening in the military. You know, civilians don't have somebody barking orders at them every day. Civilians don't stand in line at attention every morning for inspection and roll call. Somebody doesn't come and inspect their rooms daily, weekly, monthly. They don't, they don't inspect their clothing every day. Okay, so there is a regimented portion of the military that all plays into, the mindset of the veteran. They get out of the service, everything is regulated. I mean, they have leaders, they have a team, they have orders. It's a trickle-down effect. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Then the veteran gets discharged, or the serviceman gets discharged. He's now a civilian, veteran, home. There's nobody to tell him it's time to get up. Reveille comes. Well, what do? The rest of your family's still asleep and you're sitting up 5:30 in the morning. What do you do now? Go out for a run. Okay? Your family's just waking up, eating breakfast, kids getting ready for school. You're not accustomed to that. You're not used to that. It's a different beast that they have to try and understand now. So we need to promote and secure storage practices in order to put time and distance between those contemplating suicide and their guns. The VA has not been very good at identifying those in need, suicide. I, for one, I'll give you a good example. Right here in Sierra Vista, the Sierra Vista VA, okay, I was red flagged last year. Red flag means they have to make sure they communicate with you weekly to make sure that you are safe. And you're red flagged for a period of 90 days, and then they reevaluate. Should the red flag continue or should it not? Okay? They didn't call me at all. I got 2 calls in the 3 months from the nurse that's supposed to check on me every week. Didn't happen. Why? Not because she was ignorant, not because she didn't want to. It's because we live in a rural town. There isn't enough people here. No doctor, no therapist, no nurse, nobody wants to come to a rural bodink town in nowhere, USA, and make a career there. They come here to pay off their student loans and then they bolt as quickly as they can. And that's not just here, that's everywhere in rural America. Okay? And pretty much everybody lives in rural America, except for those few city goers in the big cities. And that's it. So that's where you really have to focus, and that's where the Warrior Healing Center focuses. Okay? They go out to Cochise County, and they go to all of the back areas so that everybody understands, what the Warrior Healing Center is here to do. Sorry, somebody just opened the door, so I wanted to just look. So what they do is we go to them. We're going to be going to them, and bringing mobile services out there in the near future. But the point is, it's the organizations, the Warrior Healing Center in Cochise County is the one going out looking for the veterans, going out to help them, bring them into the center. There's 50 plus organizations inside this building working with veterans. And that's what the VA needs to start looking at. The VA is the biggest healthcare system in America, and it's the most flawed. They try to do their best, but they don't. They don't do all that well. When you do get an appointment, the doctors are good. When you do get a diagnosis, it is fairly accurate. I mean, I'm not going to say the doctors and therapists there are bad at all. I would never say that. When you can get an appointment because they're so overburdened, their services are good. So smaller organizations throughout the communities across this country is what really is the heartbeat of the veterans serving veterans, to make sure that this stuff doesn't happen. I don't even know where this guy was going with this article. We need more public and veteran awareness about the inherent risks of firearm access. No, we don't. Everybody in America knows everything about firearms and access, and you don't need to tell a Marine or a veteran of any Army, Navy, Air Force. You don't need to give them any awareness of inherent risks of a firearm. We know a firearm better than you. Okay? So, and again, this guy is not even a veteran. I don't even think he has ever seen a weapon, to be honest. We need healthcare professionals to have conversations about gun access and suicide risk. No, we don't. We need healthcare professionals to actually be there when the veteran is in need. I live in Sierra Vista. We've got 2 psychologists, both up in their 70s or 80s, in the whole county, Cochise County. That's it. Okay. Psychiatrist? I'm not certain. My psychiatrist from the VA, teleprompt from Tennessee. Don't have one here. No psychiatrist with any brains would come and live in Sierra Vista in this little bodink town and make a life here. There's just not enough business for him. So, or her. We need more research on the effectiveness and existing initiatives to combat suicide. No, you don't. You need to go to the real problem, the root of it. You guys keep spinning your wheels, looking at the same problem, which is the end result. You're not looking, it's like this. If you've got a pipe and it breaks here, if you weld it here, you don't fix the pipe. You've got to weld the pipe where the break is. The break for veterans happened in boot camp, happened in service. You guys are trying to work on a problem that's out here in the civilian world. That's not the problem. That's the result of the problem. Figure it out. Start working in the service. My wife and I were talking today, and she came up with a really good idea. I went in on the delayed entry program. I think everybody should be the delayed entry program for 2 months. And in that 2 months, they need to see counseling weekly for the entire 2 months. Does a couple things. It weeds out those that won't make it anyway. So if they won't make it, then you don't put them in the service, then you don't have the veteran problem on the other side. That's one piece. Those that do make it, it prepares them. Here's what's happening, here's what you're going to go through, but we're going to give you the tools so that it doesn't affect you as bad. And we'll have tools in place while you're there. They don't have any of that right now. They say they do, but there's a lot of peer pressure. There's a lot of top command pressure. Don't talk. Back in my days, don't ask, don't tell for the gay, lesbian community. You're telling people to shut up and do your job. Even when they have a problem, you're telling them to shut up. You don't want to hear it. So the peer pressure inside the military prevents any real treatment, prevents any real learning, any real awareness. So figure it out. You want people to defend this country, you need to start defending the people. Okay? We joined because we wanted to serve this country. We didn't want to be your number. We didn't want to be a veteran with issues, but we are. So you have to look at that and figure it out from there. I think it was like one or two more pages. We need more research. I went through that. We need to understand how the VHA services affect veteran gun suicide. No, we don't. We don't need to understand any of that. We already know. You're telling us we're the ones pulling the trigger. So what the hell are you telling me that I don't already know? I don't get it. A clown, that wasn't a veteran. That's got a PhD, works for some big hospital. I ain't even going to mention it. Not worth it. What is worth it, though, is tearing apart and debunking this stuff that isn't real. It doesn't work. You want to trade a weapon? Let it be voluntary and give them a service animal in place of it. Again, it's a breathing, living thing, remember? That's what's drilled in our heads. So the conclusion of this thing is the U.S. Government Accountability Office found that in 2018, of the $6.2 million that VA set aside for suicide prevention, media outreach, I was correct, only $57,000, less than 1%, was actually spent. An average of 4,200 veterans died by firearm suicide every year, about 11 deaths. To truly honor those who serve, we must fully support the strategies and additional research necessary to prevent veteran firearm suicide. Veterans deserve the best resources our country can offer. That's a really, cozy, cuddly little closing for inaccurate stuff. Okay? He wants to conclude it with, hey, we're all about the veterans. Hey, we love you guys and gals. We want you safe. We want you secure. But you aren't doing what you need to do to fix it. Period. You're trying to fix the end result. You ain't trying to fix what actually broke. And it broke in boot camp. It broke in the service. That's where it needs to be addressed. That's where it needs to be fixed. And if you pre-screen, like I said, delayed entry, then you can root out those that aren't going to make it anyway. That's a percentage. It's a place to start. That's about all I have on it. Again, my perspective, I'm sure there's other people out there that believe that taking somebody's gun away is the best thing for everybody. But let's just end it with this. If you took every serviceman's weapon away on the field, where would this country be today? We know how to fire our weapons. We know who to shoot them at. The enemy. When the enemy is in our head and we aren't all thinking clearly, we're still shooting at the enemy. Think of that. Work on that. Work on how the enemy got stuck in our head. Work on that. Don't take our weapons away. There's 120 others out there. I can walk down the street and get a weapon. So taking my weapon isn't going to stop me if that's what I want to do. End of story. Thank you and have a good day.
changing fast. When your life's been put on hold for far too long, when the sorrow and despair is growing strong, there is always something good to be obtained from breaking loose and leave the things that kept you chained. So when you find hurts. I know it hurts. Kicked out on the first day of your new job. I know it hurts so bad. Let it go, let it go. You'll be better off without our breaks. Let it go, let it go. You'll be better off without our breaks. We don't care if you love, we will never let you go. Can't take any more. I'm Hey, from the moment of my open eye, been looking for a guided light to lead me on my way. Yeah, lost, struggling to make the top. A slipping grip can't hold me up. It's the game of life we play. When everything comes crashing down, be at your door when I hear the sound. You say the word and I'll stay the night. You wouldn't text if you moved on. You wouldn't keep me in your phone unless you know that you were wrong. Now, from this moment rolling up, a speeding drink and hold it up. You and I, we lost our way.